And red is on.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Thursday, May 16th, 2019 Selectmen's Meeting. So if we can all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So the first thing, well, we've got some minutes. We can do those pretty quick. The 2nd, May 2nd.
I'm going on page 1. I don't know. The Credary Environmental Report. Doesn't say what the report is reporting on. I know what it is, but
I'll get the correct name from Jeannie. Phase 1 environmental. Yeah. For the Sanborn property.
yeah.
Yeah.
On page 3, first paragraph, it says, at this point, the board has not decided for or against the pilot. Therefore, a public hearing is premature. I think it's more of,
Not necessary?
not, well, we wouldn't decide on the pilot program prior to having the public hearing.
Okay.
So, I think just period, and then a public hearing is premature, they need more information.
Okay. Well, we wouldn't necessarily have a public hearing to decide a pilot anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not necessarily, but I would certainly be in favor of that if it went to that.
She was requesting to have a public hearing, so the public hearing's premature, but was based on we need more information.
So not needed.
So
at this
cross
time.
out, I think cross out therefore.
Mhm.
Okay,
and
capitalize A.
capital A.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes of May 2nd as corrected.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, or anybody need some more time? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Unanimous. And that's it for minutes. Tim? Thank you.
I'll be very brief. I just wanted to bring you up to date on an item which is regarding the parks budget and doing a budget transfer to Public Works. Public Works Director Duval and I met with the Parks Commission on Monday night and discussed his activities taking over the landscaping and building and grounds maintenance for Riverfront Park and Route 132 ball field. And as such, we discussed the budget monies that were allocated within the Parks Commission budget. It totaled $16,180, and the Parks Commissioners were in agreement, and there was a general consensus to recommend the transfer of that money from the Parks Commission budget line to the Public Works Department. So one caveat is that if there's any subcontracting needed for application of herbicides or things of that sort, that would have to be done through that line as well. So in other words, Public Works Director would need to sub that out if they're unable to provide it.
Do we have a breakdown of the $16,180?
The majority of it was for Riverfront Park. No, I didn't bring that breakdown with me.
Do you have a breakdown?
I do, yes.
Okay. Can you forward it to us
I
at a
can.
later time?
It's only two.
There's only two items. It was about $4,335 for
I suspect the
Route
budget
132.
committee's going to ask. That's why.
Well, what I plan to do is to send just an informational note to the budget committee on the budget transfer, because it'll also change the budget document.
Tim,
So
does this help?
yes, it does. Thank you.
Look at this, Jimmy.
It's exactly what I thought. $4,335 was pertaining to Route 132, and the remainder to Riverfront Park. So, but I'll be writing that up, and that'll go to the budget committee along with a revised budget, so they can see the change in budget dollars. What that means is that the Parks Commission budget will be reduced by $16,180 to a revised total of $25,065 for their appropriation. And the original Public Works Department of $1,190,963 will increase by the same amount of transfer to $1,207,143. In your to-be-signed folder is a document for your signature authorizing the transfer. And I would recommend that you also make a motion to this effect for the minutes, if you're in agreement.
I move that we authorize the finance director to create a new expense line in the Public Works budget entitled Parks Building and Grounds Maintenance, and further to transfer an initial budget of $16,180 from the Parks Commission's budget to this new line for the purpose of parks landscaping and maintenance at Riverfront Park and Route 132 ball field.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second, and discussion?
Is this line exclusive to Riverfront Park and 132 Ball Field?
Yes, I would say yes, with one caveat, in that the Public Works Director indicated to the Parks Commission that some of the money will need to be spent on equipment, and I would think that equipment would be useful not only in these two parks, but elsewhere as well.
So the motion that you're making, though, does not make it exclusive to only Riverfront and 132 Ball Field, because you say for the budget to this new line for the purpose of, so if he's going to get equipment and things, so
Those are the only two parks that he maintains, that he would maintain. Civil War Memorial, West Pocket Park, those are maintained by another party through the Parks Commission budget.
but now it's going into the Public Works budget, under a line item in the Public Works budget. So under the whole Public Works department, anything can happen. So if you want to protect this line item from transferring it from Parks, I would think we want to have it a little bit more tighter than what this is, to protect it to be exclusive.
Well, you have to remember that the selectmen can move monies around anywhere in the budget, and the department heads have to stay, because of us, within the parameters of the label. So this is going to be labeled Parks, Building, and Grounds Maintenance.
Mhm.
So it's not like they can spend it on a new
Well,
spreader.
grounds maintenance, grounds maintenance could mean a lot of things. I'm just trying to find a loophole here.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
down
I
the
don't-
road, when we're not here, it could mean a lot of things. I know what the intent is, but down the road, it could mean something different.
I certainly understand what you're saying. I think for the purposes of what we're trying to accomplish, a department head has the ability to overspend some accounts, underspend others, but ultimately they're responsible to the Board of Selectmen and taxpayers to be able to account for their financial activities, so that you would be seeing that on a regular basis. This is a means by which the only two parks that he has the responsibility for the amount of money involved and the time involved in those two parks is considerable. So that was the purpose.
I'm not just looking at Director Duval. If some for unforeseen reason, and we don't have Director Duval at our disposal any longer, and we have a brand-new board next year, then you have to look for the best interest of the town of Tilton, and you're making a motion. If you're okay with that, I'm fine with it. I'm just looking at the liability. If you want to tighten it a little bit, now's the time to do it. If not, if you feel comfortable with it, that's fine with me. But, down the road,
We could tighten that during budget season as well, couldn't we? Because 16,000 may or may not be the proper number for that line. We're just
well,
starting
you're
out.
going to change it at budget anyway next year when
And
you're
we
going
can
to,
change the name
Right.
of the line just as easy.
the number is going to, right.
It can be changed at any time.
But the purpose, you're at creating a new line, and you're creating a purpose for that new line.
The reason for creating the purpose is that in the Chapter 32 budget law, it's pretty specific about stating where budget transfers are made, what the purpose of that budget is
Okay.
intended for. And your motion does cover that, as it's specific to those two parks. The titles don't necessarily have to pertain specifically to a particular purpose, as long as the purpose is understood. And your authorization is specifically for Riverfront Park and Route 132 ball field.
Any further discussion? Okay, so we have the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved, unanimous.
Thanks very much. It is in your to-be-signed folder. And my item number 2 is just something I'm working on. Doesn't necessarily need to be discussed at this time, but I'm trying to get more information.
When
so I
do you
can
think these new
protect-
assessments will affect us at the school district level?
That's
Next
2
year?
years. No, that is a 2-year back view for equalized value
Okay.
for the school district.
The fire
The
district?
fire district is 1 year,
Maybe next year.
right. And
Ouch.
When was it for the fire? Is it 2 years for the school?
it's 2 years for the school look back and 1 year look back for fire,
Okay.
I believe. And if it's anything other than that, I will correct that with the board. Okay, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, I think, are you here from Peabody Street?
Yeah.
You are?
I am.
Excellent. Do you want to come up? or-
Sure, definitely.
John, if you could state his name.
If you can, here, sit down right here. Get that.
Speak into the mic.
And if you can tell everybody your name and,
My name is Dwayne Othout.
You need to speak into the mic,
I
sir.
apologize that my wife is not here. Her name is Lori Othout, and she has been in contact with Chief Cormier, a couple of different members of the police department, and Miss Dawson as well. So I have a few things just kind of written down that I just kind of want to make sure that I go through it and make sure I'm touching on all of the points
Sure.
and everything. On behalf of me and my family, I do want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to come here today and discuss issues that we have been dealing with for the past 3 to 4 years. I have been a resident of this community since 2005 and currently own the property on 4 Peabody Street. When I initially came to this town, I was welcomed with open arms. I remember bringing my U-Haul into this town and a lady seeing me across the street at the gas station. She said, "Welcome to Tilton," and she started to explain what a great community this was. I was very, very impressed with the locale of Peabody Street and how close it was for my kids to be able to make it to and from school, and the tight-knit community that you guys have here. Now I want to skip ahead about 5-6 years after that. Approximately 10 years ago, skip ahead approximately 10 years, I now live on a street where I have to, sadly enough, strategically place firearms in various secured locations in my home to ensure my family is aware of how to utilize firearms. This includes my 11-year-old stepson. I have to do yard work with a firearm. I lock my doors 24/7. I have to install security cameras to prevent drug dealers, drug buyers, pedophiles from entering my property. Each of these, over the past 3 years, my wife and I have witnessed drug dealings, physical altercations, public intoxication, and endangerment of children.
You think so? Excuse me.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I believe we're probably delving into a non-public if we're going to discuss specifically disparaging things about another resident.
yeah.
I agree.
Technically, the way it works is in public, if I'm correct, you could just say generalities and
Okay.
things like that, and if there's specifics, you could bring them up, to the police department, things like that.
Okay.
If you want to go into non-public, you can
speak-
say anything bad about us as selectmen
Right.
in public. You
In
can,
public.
anything you want in public, but
If you want to get into specifics
Can't use
with the
a name.
board,
Okay.
we can go into
That's
non-public
not a
and you
problem.
can discuss it
or if you want, just
freely
go ahead and
with
not
the with the
specifically.
board.
That is not a problem. If you guys want to wipe her name, that's completely fine.
Do you want to go into non-public or?
I have no problem with.
Are you
keeping
going to
it
go
public.
into detail?
I am going to go into detail as far as the things that I have been dealing with the resident that is abutting my property. If you feel that that's something that we need to go into non-public for, then I have no problem with doing that.
Yes, because
Yeah.
the name's already out there.
Well, Tim can take the name out of the tape, and he should. I mean, it's already been-
Anything you could pretty much directly identify who it is by just that, the statement of that.
We already have. We already
So-
named the address.
That's, but my point is so if you wanted to go we could take that out.
We
No,
still
I
need,
think
if we're going to continue to
However,
discuss this
if
like
you could-
this, it needs to be non-public.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
If you want to
Exactly.
just discuss generalities,
then we can go non-public.
like your
Right.
displeasure with
Okay.
me
No,
or the chief,
No
no,
problem.
You
I'm just
understand.
giving you
Yep,
an
yep,
example,
I
then we
do.
can stay public.
I do.
But
Yep.
if you want to talk freely
I
about
wanna
what's
speak
taking
freely.
place, it
Yep.
needs to be non-public.
Then let's go non-public.
Okay.
I'm totally fine with that.
I mean, then you can just,
Yep. Sorry, had I understand the formalities of public and non-public.
That which
Fine.
discussed
Yep,
in
I
public
would-
would
I would
adversely
advise-
affect the
take-
I think it's
reputation.
fine anyway.
Okay, let's see, there's, so I'm gonna make a motion that we go into non-public as per RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, matters that, and this is under C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body or agency itself, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to any application for assistance, tax abatement, waiver fee, fine levy, or if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant.
Second,
Second.
Constantino, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Bog, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Scanlon, yes. And Joe's good.
So we are red is on.
Okay. Joe, you want to make a motion to see?
I do. I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they might tend to affect the reputation of a person.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to seal the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
All right?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, and the next thing we've got is, unless there's anything else.
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you very much again.
Okay, thanks.
Good luck with your issue.
Oh, we'll get it done. All right, not a problem. All right.
Okay, so the next thing we have is at 5:30 is the work session on traffic and parking ordinance.
Good evening.
Hello. Good morning.
Morning, thank you. Gene, do you have the updated copy at all? So, with the traffic and parking ordinance that we went over last week, everybody has a copy of that?
Okay. Yeah, she's got one.
You want to look? Yep.
I have
So-
a copy later, but she's like,
Oh, okay. Perfect. So, yeah, all right.
She's all prepared and apologizes.
So this is parking.
Mark?
Traffic and parking.
Okay, so last week, as you can see on the bottom, it says 5/9/19 revised. I know once this is finalized, we were talking about last week, just pretty much put the last page. So I don't think we need to go too much into depth. Really, it's been marked on there.
I have a comment on the first page.
Yeah, go ahead.
Franklin District Court, didn't they change the name a few years ago? And now it's like the
Sixth district.
Sixth
Correct.
Circuit.
Circuit District Court.
I don't even think
It's
I
still-
don't think district's in it. Isn't the Sixth Circuit Court?
We should find
I
out.
put it in reports all the time. I put Sixth Circuit District Court, Franklin District Court, just so.
We should
people
put
know.
whatever they're calling themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that? I don't know if I put that.
That's catch. I didn't know we changed the name.
Yeah, they did. I don't know why they did.
Did all the circuits like that, Concord, Plymouth.
They're all a number.
Now it's not district. I still put it in there.
I still call it Franklin District.
Are we going off of the 5/9 19 one?
That's correct, 5919.
5919, yes.
Revised on the bottom.
Where's it?
It's not-
Should be in your traffic folder, or right in
Right in the
front.
very front of your
Another
book.
folder there.
Ah,
Nah, the secret folder.
so organized, Chloe. I don't understand organization as
Should
well.
be, does it say 59 on the bottom?
Right there. Perfect. Don't worry, it's me.
I have two, one's in red and one's not.
The one in red should be 5919.
Most recent.
Don't listen, Missy.
They're both,
I know.
they both say
Just- I
5919.
know.
One's
Just-
in red and
just
one's
use-
not.
Use the red one. Use the red one.
Toss
One is
the
the
other
one we like.
Just so you know.
Ditto.
All right, is there anything
Yeah.
else on the first page that anybody notices? But Catherine saw that, so.
You're gonna give the
One says
future names of
draft.
the court too, Catherine?
Excuse me?
You're gonna give the future names for that court too, after, when they flip back to Franklin District Court, or?
I won't be here.
Gotcha.
That's
Yeah,
all
but
you
we also
say.
have to
That's
do
all you
that.
say.
It-
I got plans.
The other one says draft,
Okay.
this says revised.
So really.
I see all, you said there's an official stop sign, and yet nowhere do I see a
Where you
definition of
talking?
what an official stop sign is. I'm over on stop intersections, I think, yeah, C,
What page?
Page 3.
yeah. An official stop sign, but where is official stop sign defined? Because,
That was on your driver's license test.
okay.
Octagon red.
For the purposes of this ordinance, because there are octagonal, red, looking like stop signs in this town that have no bearing on whether you really legally have to stop.
Some people have them on their driveways, private road.
The outlet mall. The outlet mall has a stop sign over there near Starbucks. And quite frankly, it's on private property. If you ran it and you hit somebody, you could be found more liable maybe, but
We don't write for those.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
And what I'm asking is, how is that official stop sign? Where is the official stop sign designation? The term? Or maybe it just doesn't make any
Yeah, by
difference.
this
I'm
one.
willing to move on.
Okay,
I'm willing to move on.
let's move on.
Put by the city or the state.
Yeah, I mean, it states in there, all vehicles must come to a complete stop and shall yield the right-of-way of traffic within the intersection after the stop.
That's an official stop sign. Those other stop signs, not so
It
much.
states, Town of Tilton or State of New Hampshire.
Stop sign to stop sign to me, if you run a stop sign in front of me, or...
Any stop sign, you might as well pull them over, right?
I've just stopped them at
Yeah.
rectangular outlets. I mean, you're gonna cause an accident,
Yeah.
we're gonna get called to that accident, we're gonna have to investigate that
Okay.
accident, so...
I'm okay with it.
Okay,
All right,
so... If we get anywhere until we're at page 6, J, traffic regulations. Like time limits on
Yeah.
the handicap.
A,
So that's been changed already or revised.
Can you just read it?
Yep. Traffic regulations pursuant to RSA 265-74, free parking shall be granted to those vehicles that display the official handicap placard and license plate. Time limits for handicap parking shall be unlimited between the hours of 5 a.m. to 12 midnight on Main Street.
Wow, where are you reading that?
This is on...
that's one of our ordinances that was
Amendment.
amended in 2011.
The fourth one down.
Right, and then we,
No, so August 11, 2011, the Board of Selectmen meeting adopted the motion to amend the Town of Tilton traffic and parking ordinance as follows under J1. That was amended, and what was pretty much crossed out is the
Yes.
1 hour access of the regular time limits that are set for parking according to the recommendation of the Governor's Commission on Disability. That's been crossed
I
out.
remember doing that.
Yeah, 2011.
Whose name's on it?
It's
Catherine?
Sandy's on it. No.
But didn't we change that after we had that issue?
There was an issue, the reason why we changed it to that.
Can I see?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then we talked a lot about changing it to a 4 or 6 hour limit, but we never got back to changing it to a 4 or 6 hour limit. I remember that discussion.
Yeah, because this doesn't resolve the issue we had.
Excuse me. To have an
So
all-day
now-
unlimited,
Yeah, so
you know,
now
it
if
doesn't
we
make
went
sense for
back
us to do
to,
that.
or, looking at this for handicap parking shall be 1 hour in excess of the regular time limits, and we could make it 2 or, whatever.
I mean,
So it's a 2 hour limit right now.
unless they're in Lot G, then it's 4. And then we said if they need to be there all day, they could use the municipal lot out back, Lot B or C, even handicap, there are handicap spots. So
Right.
that's when we had created it. We had this discussion, and we said if they're gonna exceed the limit, they could use those longer limited spaces.
I think the reason why is that we had residents that were in the apartments during the day downtown,
There was one at T-Hop.
in T Hop, Ideal Hall, and that they needed the handicap in between and on Main Street. It was down by the bank.
That one would be occupied, but this one in our parking lot, there would be a car parked there 24 hours a day. Some days
Right.
it wouldn't move.
Right, and it would be
Because
there
they had 2
all,
vehicles, one of them
Right.
was handicapped.
wouldn't even come out for snow removal. Right, but then there were 2 residents in Ideal Hall that came in. One came in to the Board of Selectmen and spoke to us and said that they couldn't get to the handicap parking out by the fire station. And we have parking spaces out there, and it's unlimited out there. So they asked during the day if they could park in the we said in the handicap, and during that time, there was a discussion, in addition to some other factors that came into other people with handicap, with the hair salons and so on and so forth, and so we extended it to unlimited so that they could have that space downtown, and then at night put their vehicle away in the municipal, in the lot. And that's why we did the handicap. If I remember, if my memory serves me, that's kind of why we did it.
So you could even make the limit, 6 hours beyond, which would prevent somebody from parking a car in a handicap space for 24 hours a day, days on end.
Right. Which is what we ran into at the municipal lot up here. They just kept it, and they wouldn't even move for snow removal.
So it sounds like we definitely want something more than an hour. What would you suggest?
I would say 6. I would say a 6 hour limit, because I don't think that there's anything,
So the
4 hours beyond the time.
yeah,
4 hours beyond the 2. So if we change that
for
one to a
downtown.
4,
For downtown. That's what I would
What
say.
if I have a job downtown,
then you'd be
8.5 hours, so they can do a shift?
Then you'd need to park out, you'd have a placard and you could park out.
But if
in
I'm
the
a handicapped employee,
You park in the handicap spot in the municipal parking lot, and that would be 8 hours. Right?
That's all day.
No, I think
Or one of the
And if they
unlimited
worked
ones
there,
on the
they
other
would
side.
have a placard that allowed them to park out back there.
it's unlimited out back.
mobility is an issue, they may want to get a spot that's closer to the,
Park out back.
I know
He
you're
does have
right.
a point.
But then somebody like
The
that,
businesses are
somebody
8
like
to
that,
5.
what's to stop them from coming to the Board of Selectmen
Board.
or the PD saying, I have a special issue.
Yeah, special exception, right,
I'm disabled and I need this.
right.
I don't
Isn't
think
there a
we'd
clause
say
in here, I
no.
think it says except by special exception.
Yeah, by the Board
I
of
think we put
Selectmen.
that at the end of this, yeah.
Yeah.
So we did the 6 hour or 4 hour additional,
Right.
and then the special exception cover it.
Yeah, because Peter does have a point. If you do
I like the special exception idea. Do or don't,
somebody,
do or don't. Well, I do.
Or don't.
Oh, I like his
Yeah.
Especially-
exception idea. I
Yes.
think it's a good one.
Yeah, do a 4-hour extension above it, and then just put a special exemption clause in there. Do 4 hours above,
Contact
and then
the
do a
PD.
special exception in there that they would have to come to the board for. And I think that's gonna be very rare.
How would you know right offhand if a person has a walking disability? They have a disabled placard or
Yeah.
plate, but you wouldn't know necessarily whether they have emphysema and can't. Well, no, that would be a walking
Be a walking
disability,
disability.
but not all disabilities are walking disabilities.
Right.
And there's no way to know. Not that it's that big a deal. I mean, I don't think this is going to be that big a thing.
Yeah, and if you actually run their license plate or you run the name, you know what I mean, that's another way to find it, but there's no other way. I mean, it links to the car, it links to that person. If they come to the PD to get a placard or something like that, we'd actually run them to make sure that they
Are valid.
Are valid. Yeah, so that's-
Can't really ask people, that's it.
Yeah,
I had a
That's why we
temporary
should-
walking disability for a year. Remember I called you up and said, can I? Don't ticket me, because I couldn't walk far, I'd use a cane.
So that's,
I didn't get a placard.
where are we?
under that section, no, I don't think so.
Overnight parking.
Overnight parking, that's K1, and we spoke about where the downtown, defined downtown, or Main Street. So that's from 235 East Main Street by the railroad tracks. Yep, to West Main Street, which is West Main Street. Winter Street. They agree with that?
Hmm?
So then that stays in that same little area where across from Stafford's, parking, overnight parking, so. And then on the very bottom there, had Alan in last week, and we were talking about onions and his overnight 5 spaces for parking. And using Lot D, south side with placards.
So if you go in the back and says Lot D, off School Street, west side of street. Here it says south side with placards. Off School Street, is that Center Street?
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
south side of the
So why
lot,
don't we
which
just
would
say
be
Center Street?
by
Oh, on where the other.
If D is the Center Street parking lot, how come we don't put Center Street? And I know I'm on the back page, but I was also confused because
Well, Allen's was supposed to be,
this says D south side, and on the back lot, D says off School Street west side. So it's gotta be, it is.
So I make them the same, whatever it is, it should be the
I
same.
think it's the south side,
It is the south side.
might be a little southwest.
D south
but-
side, so on page 6, it's the right way.
I have a question about the lines just above that. Any violation of overnight parking will be subject to the set fine schedule and shall be towed. Not may be towed, shall be towed. Is that in fact happening? Are you towing, K, overnight parking?
Page 6, K, last
It
sentence.
says shall be towed. That doesn't leave you any leeway.
Subject to set fine schedule,
Okay?
and
Shall be towed.
do you want it to say shall be towed?
Or subject to towing.
Or maybe.
Maybe or subject to towing. If this is a repeat violator, to me, as somebody that didn't know, I'd hate to tow their car away, and it's like, oh my
I
gosh.
didn't say I'm the infamous one that tows a lot of vehicles, but I am, so.
You do?
Yeah, well, I do, because
Okay.
I start off with
he
7.
warns the heck out of him
I
first.
start
But you
off-
warn them
I
first.
start off in
Right.
November, right before the
Yeah.
the winter parking ban. I put out at least 70 slips that I've written out as a PDF saying notice that on
Right.
November 15th, which is next whatever, we will start to the winter parking ban. And I state exactly so they know. And
Yeah.
then I will give a written warning after that, and that will narrow it down to maybe 25, from like 70 to 25. And then after that, I'll start the ticket, and then if that is a single offender, after I've already ticketed them or summons, then I tell them.
Then you might
So I
want
have- I have a
to
system.
have some leeway in there.
I have a
Just
system.
change it to.
Public
names.
subject, Tony,
Add on as
or one, any of those words?
K, yeah, on the very bottom there.
Subject to.
Because if you're towing everybody, ticketing and towing,
Maybe.
okey dokey.
I wouldn't say
But-
maybe, I would say subject to tow.
And shall be subject to tow.
Yeah,
Or maybe.
Yeah, this is
So
it's
discretion.
saying maybe.
Whatever you,
Whatever, yeah.
the proper,
give yourself some leeway.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna change shall to may. Or maybe. Or
Maybe.
subject.
One subject.
yeah.
And may be towed. May.
That works,
Yep,
that's.
works.
Good.
Move on.
I think when, going back to the D, I think the reason why it's different on the back is because I think that's just stating where D lot is. You know, is that what we're talking about, where the lots, where are the lots, and then D is saying off School Street, west of the street?
But
Or are we somewhere?
it's on Center Street.
Yes, I understand that, but that's just saying that it's west off of School Street, okay? So that's D, they're just kind of stating where it is.
Yeah.
And where Alan wanted to park his vehicles is actually on D lot, but the south side, which is pretty much behind Polly's.
Okay, this
Then the other
says,
side where all the parking says municipal.
Yeah, that's the municipal.
this says off School Street, dash, west side of the street.
That's where lot D
It
is.
is, that's just D itself. It's just stating D. 'Cause if you
The
say
whole
Center
D
Street,
lot.
all of them.
The whole D lot is on the south and north side of Center Street.
But it's on the west side of School Street.
But its
Okay,
address
so
would-
Mechanic
its
Street
address would be-
is on the north side of Main Street.
That's true.
What would you like it to be?
Correct.
Which is?
Center Street.
Center.
It's on Center Street.
Let's just make it Center Street and they'll figure it out.
Make sure we got a sign that says Center Street on there.
There
too.
is.
Is there?
Out on the,
Yeah.
So you want lot D to say Center Street?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
We can.
okey-doke.
Or is it just, we don't want anybody to know what it's called.
Lot E off Mechanic Street, okay. All right,
I mean, most of them are.
all right, so are we going back now to page 6? Because there's still stuff there that's, we haven't figured out. So, just to say, have separate agreement for Onions overnight parking 5 spaces and guests to use lot D south side with placards.
That was just a note for the board to remember to do that.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys set that in stone, or what you were gonna do, if you wanna look into it, or that's something you guys need to, I don't know if there was a motion on that.
Okay? Something we need to talk with the board first and then see what Alan, and then talk with Alan.
So this will not show up in the final.
No, it
version.
will not show up.
Okay.
They're pretty much the Onions, overnight
Oh,
parking
Onions
spaces,
All right,
if that's something, because we'll
So
have to do
we'll
the
circle
placards at
back
the
to
PD,
that at
so
some point.
those, and we'll have to still coordinate that.
We've given.
So it qualifies, he does qualify because on page 7, under M1, residents, businesses, or employees of the downtown area whose properties don't provide parking, who wish to park in long-term municipal parking lots, must purchase a Town of Tilton parking sticker.
where are you?
On page 7, M1. So do we really need a separate agreement? Or can he just get guest placards?
Isn't that what you talked about with him last week when he was here?
It was thrown out there, but we didn't really,
No,
Go anywhere
well, hold
with it.
on a minute. That he would not be getting guest stickers. There's 2 different things here. Residents, businesses and employees of the downtown whose properties don't provide parking. So Cecile has tenants. She doesn't have parking for her tenants. She purchases a
she's
number
got a
of...
driveway.
It doesn't, she wants her driveway free for her own vehicle to get in and out.
Oh, wow.
Only just for her vehicle. That's her parking.
She has the 2 ingress, egress driveway.
Let me finish. She purchases placards for her tenants for overnight parking.
And she shouldn't be able to.
Yes, she should, because she doesn't have parking.
Oh, my God.
Their son, Gabriel's purchased placards because there's no parking. That's a business downtown. Polly's purchases placards because there's no parking downtown.
Well, except for
For
one
the
vehicle.
for the employees, that's not on, oh yeah. Downtown, they purchase placards. Onions owns a business, but the business is unique to downtown, where it's a bed and breakfast, where guests pay to go to the business. So it's like you're asking customers of Polly's to buy placards. So the customers that are purchasing an overnight room at Onions to purchase a placard. That's why he wanted to come up with a some type of a guest parking overnight for a placard, because it's not it's transient. It's not the same
they're
person.
transient tenants.
Right.
They're not customers, day customers.
Right. It's the same thing with
But
downtown with the
But
customers.
it doesn't say that in here.
Right,
I
so-
think last week we said that you were going to check into that and discuss with them. Maybe you have the answer to this
No,
before.
we did. The board did not agree on that, John.
No, we
There was a
didn't. We
lot of
didn't have that
discussion. It's up to the board to do that, not
What
the
I
police.
just said wasn't the police department going to come up and meet with Alan and come up with an idea and present it to us tonight?
It was not tonight, because we didn't.
But at some
At
point,
some point, because the thing is with Alan is, we'll just have to link with him. There was placards, since I've been there, I didn't know about that.
They would
But
decorate passes, it was
we
a
won't-
piece of paper.
And that's fine, but the board needs to agree that it's gonna be
Right.
on the south side, that he's gonna have his.
We haven't had any discussion about
So-
whether we wanted to do this or not.
Right.
So that's
The
what.
board first has to decide whether or not we want to do this for this particular owner.
yes, and do we want to go and allow this location on Center Street to be used for the 5 spaces? Isn't that the question we're discussing here?
No, not only the question that's being discussed, is whether or not we should allow the business to have this type of use of a placard. He wanted to create his own placards and give them out to his guests. Remember last week you entertained that conversation with him
Yeah.
at the board.
And we said,
Which
come
was
back
the
with
work
the details
session.
on it.
So technically, if you think about it, he has 5 spaces, right?
But there's no overnight parking.
No, but he has 10 rooms.
In those 5 spaces that he has, there's no overnight parking.
Right, because he has 10 rooms, I
So then
believe.
wouldn't it just be simpler to allow overnight parking in those 5 spaces?
10 rooms, Catherine.
Well,
You can't put 2 cars in each slot here.
It's actually, it is overnight parking.
For the
It is.
whole.
Onions, it's totally separate from the downtown.
okay,
Yeah.
so.
Alan came
Again,
last week
I
and
didn't
asked
know
for
how many
additional
rooms he had.
5 spaces to be located.
5 more rooms.
I
on
understand
Center
that,
Street.
but I didn't know he had
has 10
10 rooms. I don't know how many rooms are in the.
But he asked specifically for an additional 5 spaces to be
But I didn't
located
know why.
in the
It's okay.
municipal spot
We know this.
to be for
So-
overnight guests. And that was last week,
So there is a need.
right?
Yep, and we're willing to
You
accommodate
can work
any
with
kind of
that.
placards. I want to get the approval from the board before we go and say, okay, yep, we're good with the placards. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, we only have so many limited spots in D, and we want to now put people.
I would need
I
to
just
know
wanna-
if
It's
you,
not my call.
if there's some kind of exclusive use to 5 spots. I mean, what time duration would cars be allowed to park there? So in other words, if I
Usually at night.
if a resident or customer and I rented a room at the inn and I parked my car there Monday morning, but I was visiting family, I could leave my car there all week, 24 hours a day?
That's what needs to be established.
So I think what we want, what I hear is that we're on to this, but we want to know more details.
No,
Where
we're
to
having
be.
a discussion as the Board of Selectmen. You're gonna stop being in a hurry and pushing the agenda because it's
No,
time.
I think we're
We have
rehashing
not
things that we've already
discussed this.
discussed in the previous week.
We didn't discuss it. It was
Yes,
proposed.
We
It
did.
was proposed to us. We didn't have this discussion about how long would he want to use them for. I didn't know we had
Yes.
10 rooms.
I recall that.
Okay, well, I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Blame it
And
on
that's
old
why
age.
I'm-
But I don't want to be rushed through this. Okay? I mean, I appreciate you moving the meeting along. But how many more things do we need information on?
and
And I'd like to
If
hear
I
from the
could
other
add-
rest of the board, do they even want to entertain giving him special placards?
So I thought from last week that you all were supposed to have that conversation with Alan and come back with a proposal for the board to consider.
I think what I remember was that we would come up with a type of temporary pass for them. We did, in '09, when we created the ordinance, we did give them like a 24-hour temporary pass for guests. We didn't tell them where in the lot to park, but that was something that was part of the original ordinance. It was kind of a red piece of paper that said temporary pass, and they would come up to the PD and get them. That was something that,
And I haven't been here.
And they were for
Yeah.
24 hours?
And I have never seen that, so I didn't know.
that was something that goes back to the beginning of the ordinance.
Just pulled up the minutes.
So
My
it's
notes,
like-
my
so
notes
we-
from last week.
So in the notes from last week, what did we,
5 spots, like, these are just notes, not minutes, but 5 spots, happy to purchase from town. They can hang on mirror and use municipal lot opposite employee parking, 10 rooms for overnight. Alan can work with Abe, make up number and instruct them where to park, really only summertime. Still use 5 spaces overnight. Turn the 6th space into handicap, and Catherine said it doesn't qualify because it needs a tip down. And then we talked about that. Alan talked about moving the crosswalk, have the chief mull over. The ones out front with grandfathered since '06. Need something in writing. Alan, chief, and Abe will talk about it.
so what we were doing is waiting for something, a proposal to come from them in writing.
I appreciate
Said last
the
week.
explanations, but I'm sorry. I didn't remember the 10 rooms, and I'm still at, is this something we even want to entertain? Do we feel that he truly has a need? Because my understanding is for the tenants that we do have, the apartment dwellers, we don't have as many spaces as we should. And I don't know, this is only what I've heard.
Those spaces, if I remember correctly, and I'm with, I'm sorry, I'm with Catherine on this one, because last week we had a work session on parking ordinance, and all of a sudden there was a property owner, a business owner, that was invited up to the table, and then we were discussing something, and if I remember correctly, there was a lot of discussion on a lot of different things, but nothing was ever settled and decided on. Got heated after a while. When we talk about the municipal parking and the municipal parking at night, particularly Lot D, we have to be very careful what we decide to do, because there's a lot of people that park there at night that have to be towed during the wintertime, that have to be shooed away after midnight, because it's not, they don't have placards and they don't have overnight, and you have to regulate where are the times, what are the times, because like Catherine said, if you're going to be there during the morning, so I have a check-in at 10 o'clock and I drop my car off, I'm with family and I'm going to be there for the entire day or 2 days or whatever. A lot of business, I think, I'm not totally correct on, I might not be totally correct on that, but there are some employees down here that park on this side.
Mm-hmm.
We've told to park on this side. So that would now encroach on some of where they're parking if we grant them this 5 spaces on this side. So we have to really think about this process and what we're doing. We can't just say, oh, give it that without any thought whatsoever, because now we're giving out placards to people that have been there for 5 or 6 years doing it a certain way. We have to really think about this.
Pat, and I'm going to reiterate, we're not making the decision on that. We're saying that we're going to meet to it and he's going to present us with something that we can even talk about, because right now, we have nothing. We just
So-
have an idea, and we're just talking about speculations. Until Alan and the police come up with exactly what they need and propose it to us, we could speculate that he wants anything in the world. But we need to have them present something for us to make a decision on, so we're not even making a decision. We're
So-
just saying no decision's been going to be made.
So you've heard our discussion, you understand our concerns?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I definitely
absolutely.
have my own concerns, so, I mean, it's gonna be a process, it's not gonna be like 1 week, like, again, Pat said, it just kinda came up here, we had an agenda we were doing, kinda got thrown in the mix of it, that, in my mind, was pushed to the side just because there's other things we need to deal with. That's gonna be a can of worms.
If we treat it as an amendment,
Well, what I'm trying to go with Pat is, midnights, I keep Lot D completely clear. It's municipal, and it's parking for Polly's, as in the business owners in the morning, or whatever businesses she said. So I keep D almost clean, except for Kevin parks there, but he's up in the morning. That's gonna be a pain, so we have to then figure out exactly how many spots, where those spots are gonna be. They're gonna be designated exactly in the far corner on the south side of Lot D. It's gonna be some thought, because now, they wanna plow that area right in the morning, and these are the vehicles, okay, who do I get a hold of? And there's just a lot of step processes. It's not just quick, like, yep, 5 spots, here's the placards, we're good to go. I think it's gonna be a little bit more than that, so we can work with it and definitely come up with something.
Because you have some of Louise's tenants that park there too.
yes, we can go forward and approve this,
Oh, yeah.
and then we
'cause
could
that's
add
kind of a
that as an
separate thing.
amendment.
Right, you
Yeah.
could do an amendment to it,
Yeah,
right.
good with that.
Yep. All right, so where are we?
Back.
Page 7?
It should be snow removal, page 6. I don't know if you get that far down, but it's still with the onion, 5 spaces.
I'm on page 8.
Yeah, I'm on,
We're on page
I'm on,
6.
I know.
We're on 6, we just talked about the onion, 5 spaces, so L2. Public Works Director may authorize a snow removal parking ban broadcasted of the ban, and it said shall,
We did up.
and we did may.
yep, that's good,
Not limited to.
Not limited to, so we're good with that. I know we had
that's good.
some talk about that, so that's switched.
Mhm.
We'll go to page 7, M1. Now with this one, we put in there, Gail, whose properties don't provide parking. Now, what we talked about last week was maybe a list of buildings or apartments or places on other streets that that would maybe be using the municipal law or the parking. So instead of trying to like go to each one and saying, well, how many parking spots do you have, how many tenants do you have, we're gonna put you on the list here. We put whose properties don't provide parking. Can we understand that at all? I'm going with that. No? So the problem is I think Scanlon said from the very beginning is what keeps me living on, Lancaster or Pleasant Street or Prospect and buying a parking pass. And so with that, we kind of decided that, well, let's find out how many apartment buildings or how many tenants live on those streets that might get parking passes on like Academy Street, Prospect Street, those areas. And I think it's not as easy just to say that. So whose properties don't provide parking can then get these passes, as in the immediate area. And I don't know if you're good with that, or if you really want a list of in the ordinance.
So from an enforcement point of view, can you enforce it with that language? Can you deny somebody a parking pass with that language? I mean, can you determine with that? So if I come down there, or 16 Coney Road, and say, I want a parking pass. You can easily say, no, you have your own parking, or you live too far away, or if I live
And the thing is,
off of Academy Street, I have a driveway, might be short, but I have one. I say I want a parking pass. Is that enough language for you to say no to me?
Because that says the downtown.
Says
area.
downtown area.
downtown area.
Yeah, we do define downtown areas
Yeah, but we didn't define it this way,
this way.
And I think that there was a problem, like, where do you?
because that would leave the person we were just talking about a few minutes ago out. And that would leave
Well, it would.
these buildings up here out of parking
Live in
passes.
the downtown area to find their relatives.
It wouldn't because it abuts the parking lot.
Doesn't say that. But I agree that those tenants, those buildings, because we have them down Mechanic Street who use those parking areas, but they're in the downtown area.
I mean, you had even mentioned last time, Catherine, by address too, you could list the addresses,
Yeah.
remember?
I mean, you have to enforce it, so I don't want to sit here and tell you what, for me, what language you need to put in there. Because you're the guys that are going to enforce that part. And to me, that's kind of sticky.
Right, yeah.
And the only thing is maybe going back to the downtown.
The only other one that even provides parking is behind Matt Steady, and then there's only 3, I think, right? That's the only other one that provides parking.
Well, Mechanic Street has 2.
Yeah, Mechanic and over there. It's the only one that
And the
does,
post office.
the post office is ours.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about landlords that
Oh,
provide parking.
Well, you have 281 Main Street, he should have his own parking, he's got a lot.
So you have Matt Steady of 281 Main Street, but you don't have,
He doesn't have.
oh, no, you
It's-
mean
It's
Purdue.
the building that Casamigos is in,
Right,
they own that, rest of that lot.
Yes, let's say.
but so you have a couple of spaces behind Matt Steady, you have
And that,
Panulu, and you have Mechanic, behind Mechanic Street.
35.
There's some. Those are the only tenants that own, and behind Polly's, that's it. The only people that you're talking about that own property, that own places.
Well, in the former Providian Bank.
So do we feel like we should the PD then go door to door on Academy Street and on Prospect Street and on Cedar Street, Chestnut Street, and find out what landowners have tenants that need parking spots, or that use parking spots?
I think that's why
And then.
That's
and then-
outside of the definition.
And then label those on the ordinance, exactly those those places, you know, to Chestnut Street.
Do we know that do we actually know that they use them?
We don't.
Oh, okay.
No, we don't. But we
Well, we
just trying to
say-
get some language of, I mean, the only other way also is going back to the definition of downtown core area and defining that a little bit more in depth.
So
of
is the-
where that downtown-
And abutting roads or something.
Yes.
But is there an issue now?
There's not.
There is no issue now, right?
Now. But there it becomes.
But you're saying if there,
Is.
what's stopping people from
That's-
having an issue?
that's what
But
John
there
said.
hasn't been an issue since this has been out and about for the last 6 or 8 years, right? Okay.
The intent with this was to provide parking for those Main Street tenants.
Right, that's the intent.
Not,
That truly needed
And- but then we-
storage
And
spaces.
so far, it's worked.
it's worked.
What if we just put right there where it says residents? We inserted Main Street. Main Street residents, businesses, or employees of those businesses, and then whose properties don't provide parking, and just
I guess
limit it to Main Street. That, if you just insert Main Street there somewhere,
All you have to do
it-
is,
Academy Street's out.
right.
All these streets up here, all
Now,
other...
Joe, because you've got Louise's place in not the next one, not Burnett, but the next one after that use it, and you've got
Center Street, Cecile.
Cecile, and you've got,
But you just let everybody do it, or
no,
nobody do it.
the apartments, and you've got over here.
How can they have apartments with no parking?
Because they
Because
evolved.
they're old, Joe.
I'm old.
Lots of places.
So what?
Go
So
on Cedar Street and see how many
maybe this is
places
something you
still
need
have
to.
parking.
And, I mean, if you added,
Yeah, we're not gonna come to a resolution.
possibly, let me suggest this. If it said residents, businesses, or employees of the downtown area or abutting properties, could we do that? Abutting properties?
Put downtown.
Abutting
slash
to
Main
what?
Street.
Right.
Main Street
We have a
downtown?
definition.
These don't abut Main Street.
I think we'd be fine with
Do it
the
for now, and
definition.
then if it changes, we can amend it.
It's been
They
in
abut
existence
the
now, we
parking
haven't had a
lots.
problem, let's just not change it.
Right, so.
Well, we have had problems because we've had campers that have been stored in there. We had to remove them and things like that. We didn't know who they belonged to, and they get stickers over the years.
Yeah.
I didn't think we gave
Remember that,
placards
Joe?
to campers.
We don't.
I do remember the
Yeah, we
camper.
There was a
Trailers.
camper thing.
Yeah, I remember the camper.
Yeah.
And we don't know which ones are doing that.
Do we give placards to campers? I didn't think we did.
Why don't we just
No.
take out the red?
But there was one.
There
Yeah,
was a,
more than
there
one.
was at least one.
Okay.
Go with that and what we got and amend it later if we need to do an amendment.
If it has a problem, we'll put it in.
I think you guys have the gist of it anyway.
Just down at M5 on page 7, the date of issue's been crossed out.
Yep.
1 year from the date of issue, which would be a pain, so it's now 1 year from January 1st. So the first of the year, like everything else, well, but that's when
Everybody's
it's-
on the
that's when
same
the new one
page.
is. That's how we're basing the stickers off of also. All right. Page 8. Parking spaces on Main Street are not for long-term parking, exceed the posted time limit. It said may, and that's going to will result in fines or removal of the total owner's expense.
Again, gonna tell,
Well, it's not tell, it says we will result in fines and/or removal.
and/or, all right,
Yeah.
all right,
And/or.
all right.
And there might also be a fine, you might get lucky and just get a warning, but we're not going to state that because then people read that a little bit.
They're gonna say, oh, it says right here, you're gonna warn
Warn
me.
me first.
Has Kevin been notified that we need more signage for our parking?
What's that?
Wasn't there a conversation last week about a need for a sign that Alan has one, but we
Yes.
extended it from railroad track to winter, so we'll need more signs on those ends.
I did get with Alan after we left here, and
Yeah.
he does have that sign that's between his building. It's actually the speed limit sign / no midnight parking,
Right,
that had fallen over and he moved it because. he didn't
right.
want to be
But we don't have any beyond railroad tracks on this side, right?
That's correct. Across from Stafford.
So we do need a couple more signs.
And then the ones right here, 251 Main Street, where we're gonna put no parking in between those signs, when we said that. Mechanic Street to Onions,
Yep.
in between these ones, I think there's 5 or 6 spots there.
Right.
Right, and the last, it looks like residents and guests, the A lot and B, C overnight parking. We've changed overnight parking required. So Tilton issued parking stickers with guest pass required for Lot A, B, and C overnight parking lots.
There should be a comma there or an and. So is the overnight parking in A, B, and C, or is it in lot C and H? Or is it in all of those?
Well, eligible.
Well, A, B, and C,
Yep.
period, overnight parking lot, E and H? Is that the way that should read, or where's the punctuation there?
Does overnight parking belong to A, B, and C? Is that
Or
the question?
lot C and H.
Or does it belong to all of them?
We've allowed all of them. for
So
overnight.
overnight parking
You
should
could
go
probably
after
use
E and
mechanic.
H.
and then-
You could almost say all municipal lots except Lot F.
And G?
And E and H are usually always full, and there's nothing usually going in and out of there. I mean, H is behind Gale Insurance, those are packed, and then Mechanic Street, that is just a mess, and it's,
Right, so back to Joe's question. Take overnight parking and put it after lots E and H.
yeah, instead of being in between.
Right.
Okay.
I brought it up last week, I'm gonna bring it up again, Lot A at the old post office. you have to have a placard or guest pass to park in Lot A. But yet that parking lot is used for overflow parking for Riverfront Park and Old Home Day.
The people park there for the Family Resource Center.
That's right.
It abuts the family. That's where I park, because I figure that's where
So-
I should be
Overnight,
parking.
they need a sticker.
Is there some
Just for
way,
overnight, that you need a sticker, that's for overnight parking.
Just for
so
overnight.
can we indicate it in here that during the daytime it's for public use?
Under residents and residents guests, or under visitors and patrons, or under...
I don't know.
So Lot A would
Public.
be under
It's not just for
where,
visitors,
visitors and
That's
patrons.
really all
Public.
lot.
it's for everybody.
No, I know, I just wanted to see what she's talking about in what section. Because we're looking at residents and residents guests, that you just said that, right? Did you,
Or
which are
where
for
the
guests
lots.
required, A lot, B, so,
Should be municipal parking during the day.
Right,
yeah.
you could add that sentence.
Would you
Yeah.
just put A
Just put
under
out,
visitor patrons and A under merchants, employees, and vendors? That would cover it.
you could just after park use only during park hours or before that, somewhere in there, just put Lot A, and give it a time span, I don't know. It'll be for public parking. You know, public parking in Lot A from, I don't know, 9 a.m. to, when do the fireworks get over for Old Home Day?
We could add.
9:30,
That's what I'm
10.
saying, we're...
10 p.m.
We're getting mixed up on
ABC.
which section we're trying to put this under. Residents and guests, what you're talking about is under residents and residents guests. We probably want to put Lot A, that it's open during the day, under visitors and patrons.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
Okay.
It's A, B, and
So we
C.
want to put it under Lot G is also 4 hours, then after that, Lot A is whatever.
yeah, whatever.
Add
You know, I just want to put in the
Right,
right section.
add lot of
Yeah.
A up
I
there.
don't care where you put it.
Well,
That-
if we put it under resident guests, that's totally different than what we're talking about. Then we're
Yeah,
going
Yeah.
to be,
As long as it's
there,
Got it.
available.
we got it. Cool.
Otherwise, people are gonna get a lot of
The next thing was, last week, we also discussed the parking along the river, lengthening it from the 2 hours.
Yep.
Where's that?
I think you guys did not come to a
We didn't come to,
No.
Pat, you
Is
were
it
saying that
4?
some people use it for longer than, or two, but not all day.
It's not part of this.
Not part of this.
It's not even on here.
No,
Yeah, it wasn't
Exactly.
part
It's
of
not part of
this.
the ordinance.
Yes, it is, because it would be between Main Street.
that's right.
Because we
It's
extended
downtown
it.
area between
We
Winter and the
extended
railroad
this
tracks.
in order to include that parking.
So we need
But we
to
didn't include
inclusion,
the parking.
Right.
Presently, it's 2 hours, and it's covered by everything in this.
Mm-hmm.
So
12
we want to increase that. I had suggested 8 hours, but I think
We make a motion to make,
does somebody have any input? I would say 8, but does anybody else have any other input on it?
I like the 2.
8? You
Two,
like it
two, not 8, 2.
The spaces along the True Green.
11 small
Okay.
spaces.
It's where the True Green thing is.
I think there's 12.
12, yeah. Looks about that. Cuts it off.
I've
I'm
never
not
seen
sure.
them all filled
There's
without a
10,
thing in the
There's
park.
10.
10.
There's 10, there's 12
There's
for
2
Riverfront
and
there,
then
There's
and
two.
28
the hydrant.
at Riverfront Place.
If you do 8, then you'll have the businesses
Correct,
park
yeah.
there all day long.
That's
and
right.
Nobody else will be able to go over there and fish in the afternoon.
I'm with Jody, the 2.
If you do 6, nobody's going to be parking there all day long. Businesses won't be parking there all day long, and then you'll get an opportunity to get in there and do some fish, and it will be a little bit more
You
than,
can make it the same as lot G.
make it 4, and then you can split your day.
Free up some of the other areas.
Right.
I'd be willing to go 4, not 8.
We have a
Not
4.
All right.
We got a 4?
And no overnight
doing?
parking.
No overnight.
I'm the one that said we'd go to
No,
4.
overnight would be one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go with
I'm
4.
going to make a motion to do 4 hours on that one, section along the river
overnight?
Yeah, we wouldn't anyway.
So signs, 4-hour signs to that spot, and the overnight parking.
Is the motion
I'll
passed?
second it.
Yeah. Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
No discussion?
Discussion.
Do the discussion.
Where in the ordinance are these parkings ones this depicted for a time limit then? If we're doing West Main, we haven't, where's the hour limit on Main?
2 hour limit
They
on
should
Main.
be back to back and,
It's right here, free parking on Main Street, 2 hours.
Up to 2 hours. That's usually each hour.
so that would be where you'd insert it.
Yeah, 10
Where do I
10
park?
spaces abutting the river, or however the language goes, would be 4 hours.
Yeah, see, it says Lot G is 4 hours too, so you can put them together.
There you go.
Archie and any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved?
That's even address across from 333.
You got that? We made a motion, it's voted, it was approved. Is that it? Except future amendments for onions.
Have it ready for signature.
Next thing, I guess, we can start looking at job descriptions.
You have two, you have the land use technician and the building inspector code enforcement officer. Which one do you want to take first?
The chief and aid excuse.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ray.
No, that's true. That's absolutely true. Thank you, gentlemen.
There's one of them more pending. The first thing I have here is the building inspector code enforcement officer job description. You want to start with that one? Or? Anybody have any objections to starting with that one?
On page 3?
We'll start with that one. Okay.
He asked
Yeah,
if anyone
that's what you
had
said, right,
objections.
building inspector?
I asked if anybody had objections. to
Oh, I
start.
thought you said any.
I want to make sure.
Okay, yeah, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, here.
I recognize you at this point.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear exactly what you said. On page 3, it says, under minimum qualifications,
Work session, Joe.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Thank you very much.
high school graduate or GED equivalent, working knowledge of construction, engineering, or related field, or years of experience in a related, at least 3 years of experience in a related field.
Where again? What page?
3. We have a lot of related fields. Engineering or related field. So we need to take out after, or years of experience in a related, so it'll say, or at least 3 years of experience in a related field, I think.
High school graduate or GED equivalent, working knowledge of construction, engineering, or related field to those things,
Or have at least 3 years.
years' experience in a related, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
See, it's repeated. So just take out years of experience in a related, and then it will say, or at least 3 years of experience in a related field.
So read to me how you think it should read.
I can show you. Cross out that in pink.
No, just take out the first or related field.
And put a
No, that
or
goes with engineering.
I know it does, but if you look at it, it says working knowledge of construction, engineering, or have at least 3 years of experience in a related field.
That's what I had.
Yeah, that would work.
Catherine?
Well, so what are we doing with the 3
You have-
years of experience in a related
We're
field?
keeping that.
So if you say you have a high school graduate, GED equivalent, working knowledge of construction, engineering, or at least 3 years of experience in a related field, which would cover construction and engineering.
Pass. This is.
Don't forget the rest of that sentence, because it
You guys
plays
have to
into
say
what you're
what I
saying. In lieu of.
Catherine, where did you get this? You don't
In my
have,
packet.
no, you don't have the right one.
It's a good
You
thing
don't
it's
have
the
any
only
green
thing I
out.
found
You
wrong with it.
That's your packet, that's not your.
Do you all have the one
This
that
is
is green?
revised May
Yes.
2017. The only one I have is 2009.
It
Okay,
isn't in your
so-
book?
So
this is
everyone
what I got.
else, just everyone
Green.
else,
Green?
everyone else has one that's green.
I have a green.
Okay. Can I
Where's your
get-
green?
Yeah.
Want the green?
Oh, I don't have a green one. Well, it's exciting for a minute. So I can just.
All right, so my suggestion is or related field in the first one.
It's already been corrected.
No,
Or have at least 3 years of experience in a related field.
but you have before that or related field, and then or have 3 years of experience in a related field. It's repeated twice.
Well, yes, but I understand the first one where it says engineering or related field. That means engineering or,
You just do this.
I don't know.
So you're okay with that?
Yeah, because it's.
So you weren't
that one's-
okay with it, now you're okay with it?
I had a different copy. That's, mine didn't have it all correct.
I'm just yanking it.
I know. You missed my brain.
So there's no certification or anything for building inspector, code enforcement officers?
There will be. There's legislation right now.
There hasn't been? Wow.
No, and there's legislation right now where they're looking to certify building inspectors, but, no. So minimum qualifications, could somebody just read to me what they think it should say?
Just like it is.
Just like it is.
High school graduate or GED equivalent working knowledge of construction, engineering, or related field, or,
Have at least 3 years of experience in a related field
Okay.
in lieu of the education which demonstrates the required knowledge,
Perfect.
skills, and ability.
all right, so we're good with that.
Possession of a valid New Hampshire license.
Curious.
Okay,
We're good.
all right. Anything else?
Nice job.
I don't get where you say the physical demands described here.
They're down below.
Okay. Got it. I'm good.
How do we define reasonable accommodations? Or is that just a gray area that we take case by
It's
case?
gotta be case by case.
So we can, but we could reject one reasonable accommodation and accept another.
Not if they're reasonable, I would say no.
It's reasonable.
Isn't that the language
It's
that
like- yeah,
the
it's
ADA
standard.
uses that
So
tells
there
us?
must be some definition in that statute, right?
There is mud.
The definition is litigation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion, we accept the building inspector and code enforcement officer job description as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the description as amended. Any further discussion? Nothing? All those in favor say aye.
Right?
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right.
So moved. You're opposed?
Yeah, without reason, it's just a lot of gray area for me. It's a principle as much as anything else.
So,
Okay,
Passes.
land use technician job discovery.
This is 2017. Dangerous neck is big for everyone.
So the next one is also in green on the land use technician.
Yep,
This 21 hours reflects the additional hours that we gave, that we agreed to for this position.
mm-hmm.
Do we even need to have to list the hours? Because if we, in a couple of years, decide to go to 24,
I agree. I agree.
I agree too. Anybody else? Let's not list the hours, number of
I
hours.
agree.
it says part-time.
Hourly, non-exempt, that's enough.
Sufficient. We
Yeah.
can adapt it from there.
Okay,
yeah.
good suggestion. Yeah.
Every once in a while, he comes up with a good one.
Can I go home now?
Yep. No.
And we all go home.
Where they,
Huh?
is that at 7 or 8?
I don't recall.
Any other questions on this?
Catherine, you good?
No.
No.
No,
Are you gonna let
I
us
think,
know?
She's
I
still-
think that when we hire someone to fill this position, that we may be looking at this again. I mean, as I said before, Dari had a specific plan for that person, which was going to send some of the duties over there that haven't been done yet. So I'm just anticipating that.
We can revisit that at such time.
Yeah, so I'm not going to encumber anybody's time for it now. But I'm saving it.
Well, I think, could we remove
Would-
considerable physical demands are required to perform the work?
It's removed.
It's removed.
It's
Will we
lined
accept
out.
that? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, we're
That's
not
what
going to
he's
leave it as
asking,
it
is
is,
you
we're going
accept
to
it.
accept that. No,
I'm
no, there
accepting
it
this
is.
with the corrections that have
Right.
been made.
I don't understand why we're, this may be, are we only requiring the minimum qualifications? I'm questioning that. Are we selling ourselves short on the minimum requirements?
Considering what this job is and how many hours we and the amount of money that we pay this individual, getting somebody with a master's degree or a 4-year degree or whatever might be difficult. This is an entry-level land use position that requires 2 years of college training or experience in a related field. Nobody gets in, they don't have office skills or some, although I don't know whether our current land use technician had the proper qualification. This is going forward. Seems like this is an entry-level position. And considering the job market, make it too tough and maybe we get nobody. Just saying.
Good starting place.
Okay, I'm good.
So, we'll take it as the green.
Make a motion, we accept the job description for land use technician as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Oh, I'm gonna have
Woo-hoo,
one
before
of
7
these
o'clock.
too.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So, you opposed?
No, I said
Here,
aye.
don't I?
She was just delayed on her response. You
I
hurried
made the
nice-
motion, I was like,
Oh, no, I'm for it. I made the motion.
Start.
so moved. Unanimous.
April 17th on this one. It was in the folder.
You're gonna have to go through her.
You don't have one of these notes?
No,
No, because I'd rather have, like, just
It's
because
my
I have a
fault,
lot
Dunkin'
more
Jones.
information.
The TA report.
No, I took these out of the blue folder and stuck them in there.
Okay. All right. No, not yet, but did you have something for him?
No, I'm here. Chuck Robert, 1025 Laconia. I just want to say thank you. You guys finished it, well, it's not finished, but it's a nice job. Well, striping sense. People need to know where to go, and that's an obvious thing.
All right, so we did okay?
It'd be great.
And it's
You
draining
know,
good?
you know,
It's draining real good? It's like flowing and...
well, and that's where it started. 4 years ago, I remember coming here for that.
Yeah.
So to that end, thank you.
Where are you at now?
Winnisquam Market.
You're the guy from the Winnisquam Market?
No.
No,
Oh,
he lives on
with the fence.
Banner. I'm the neighbor.
Ask
He's the
him.
one, his house abuts Lake Winnisquam.
Yeah.
1025 Laconia Road, new fence.
The Welches used to live there.
I got a question.
I can
Did
see
you-
why there's some...
Did you change your
We're
driveway?
off the meeting, right? We're not being recorded?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Did you change the actual area where you enter onto the road, the paved area?
No.
You've always had that as a driveway, coming right onto where we paved? Okay, that answers my question. See, for some reason I thought you came onto the private road that's in between the Winnisquam Market and your house.
Without
You
a
put up
map-
a fence.
Without a map, I could point to it, but the fence speaks for itself. And the confusion before with folks was, for an egress spot, our exit point now exits into the road. Whereas before, we would have to cross over their land to get to the road. Make any sense?
Yeah,
So
so
they
you
changed
moved
the
your,
driveway
you moved your driveway. Before, you had to go,
The
it
exit point they moved.
Yeah.
Well,
That's right, so they
you're-
changed the
so
driveway.
has changed.
The exit point hasn't changed, where we enter the road. It's before, there was no fence corralling people, what have you. So, to answer your question, the only way onto the road legally is through the current egress point, which was the old egress point. There was no fence there. So people had to do, I'm a football guy, the cone drill to get through the road into the property. Come down, I'll show you.
Okay, we'll talk about it. What's your name?
Chuck Roberts.
Chuck? I'm Joe. So I'll come down and knock on your door one of these days and you can walk me through it.
Sure. Just my 2 cents. You guys have tons of parking issues. Just coming through town, going back since I was a kid. It seems to me we could leverage federal, state money, replace the firehouse, and put a garage in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
There you
it's
go.
limited space, but if we go
How
to,
you thinking, Chuck?
but no, if you bake in the fire station,
Yeah.
Yeah, all you gotta do is convince some fire commissioners.
You gotta get a new fire station first, and
Thanks.
Step
Thanks.
up
This
and
will be
run for
fun.
fire
Got
commission,
everybody
will
going.
ya?
Stir the pot.
next go around, there'll be a 10 million on it.
any lines is a good thing, just because people need to know where to go.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Chuck.
welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. Good luck.
Make a motion that we go into non-public per RSA 91A:3 personnel.
What happened to the town planner? What happened to the rest of the agenda?
We're going to Jeannie's
Okay, so we completed?
town administrator.
Can I, so what are we going to, we weren't gonna finish?
It's
with
going
the
to town administrator report. Hear me out.
Okay, let's see, so we finished job descriptions, the next thing is town administrator's report.
And on the top of the town administrator's report is a personnel issue that I'd like to discuss in non-public. We finished that.
I'm starting
Town
with,
planner?
Pets right on?
that was the
It's not
first
in
vote we
here.
did.
Next week.
We don't have
Maybe I don't
that.
have the right one.
No. We were.
We don't
only
have that,
going
Kathy.
over
We had the binder,
two
Kathy.
job
One
descriptions tonight.
person.
Right, we only were going over two, Catherine.
Okay,
I'm on top of things.
that's good, no, because I have the wrong copy again,
Virginia,
just saying.
just saying.
Okay, so we have a motion, we do not have a second yet,
I'll second it.
I
What the
asked-
heck?
to go into non-public. Any discussion on that motion?
Why?
Look at the top of Jeannie's report here,
Okay,
action. I want to know more about this.
but we're not so we're not talking about an individual.
Yes, we are.
There we are.
We are?
Oh, yes, we
Specific
are.
individual?
Okay, one,
Specific individual.
Yes.
It
Yes.
says, please authorize ad in the paper.
okay, I think this, seeing it's the town administrator's report, and she was going to be reporting to us, could you answer that question?
Sure, I could just say that there were two positions that were offered. One of those individuals didn't pass background check, and so that person was not hired. And so he's hired one person and
And
he's
I
come
want to go into
forward.
non-public to find out what it is.
And,
I don't think,
Mm-hmm.
so we have,
It's
wanna
HR,
know
we
this-
can't say.
you want to know the specifics of why? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure.
I don't, we should check on that.
Are you the town administrator?
okay, so,
No,
we
I'm not, but
got,
I'm an
Okay.
HR assistant with her.
Got it.
So we are the hiring authority, and if an employee that we were going to hire, we would have access to that information. Personally, I don't care. They're not coming to town, so it doesn't matter to me what.
I want to know
Reason they
why
got it.
somebody
Same.
wasn't hired.
As the hiring authority, we are entitled to that information.
We made a
Okay,
motion
so
to hire
this-
someone,
so that's
this
what we
person
have.
is not being
Let's not
hired, I
debate.
want to know
Let's-
why.
we have a motion and a second. I'm going to,
Call the
further
question?
discussion, going to call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Hi.
Aye.
No, they have to do a
Yeah.
roll call.
What are we, motion?
The motion is to go into non-public.
I thought that's a roll call vote.
That's correct.
True enough, true enough.
Thank you very much.
That's what threw me.
Thank you, Peter.
Constantino, yes.
Dawson, no.
Fog, yes.
Jessamine, no.
And Scanlon, yes.
And God bless democracy. I love it. This is the most pure form of democracy. And we're red, red is on.
Okay, next. We'll go back to town administrator's report.
Okay, so, as I mentioned earlier, the DPW director hired one person full-time, and he is asking authorization by the board to hire a part-time laborer for the summer, primarily to do work in the parks. As you probably know, the DPW crew have picked up parks, and Kevin feels like he needs that additional part-time person.
Well, are we hiring just one part-time, or are we also replacing the full-time that fell through?
We've got one full-time person that we've hired, and we're gonna hire a part-time, one part-time person.
I think we should go after the full-time person that we needed and we asked for a couple weeks ago.
I don't, so Kevin did his interviews. He selected the 2 folks that he thought were best qualified to do the job, and he did not feel comfortable with the other candidates. So if you want to hire another full-time person, I think he would want to go back out and would want to go put another ad in the paper and look again.
Considering that the Public Works Director is asking us for this part-time laborer, I have to assume he's not going to come later and ask for a full-time person. We have a part-time person that does the winter.
What do you have for staff?
I'd like to hear from Kevin.
Yeah, I think, so it's
There's too many
unclear.
questions. There's too many questions right now.
So it's unclear whether he wants to hire this part-time instead of the full-time, or if he wants to hire a full-time still and a part-time, or should I say, the still remaining position.
It was a financial issue in terms of where we're at in the budget. He had a discussion with Tim about, what we could afford for the rest of the year. So,
And he's looking specifically for just part-time,
part-time person to work primarily in parks for the summer.
and he can get by on that.
He
Just
feels-
one,
he feels
hiring
like
the
he
one
can.
full-time that he did.
It feels like you can, and I'm happy to have him come in and talk to you, but he felt like as long as it took us to get people to go through the background checks, all that we needed to do, we delayed. And he wants to get an ad in the paper because if we delay another week, he couldn't be here tonight. He had another commitment that he couldn't get out of. So he asked me to bring it forward to him, to you.
So with more duties added with parks, we're reducing the force by half an employee if we hire just the part-time because of the one that fell through.
I think the difference is this Public Works Director is out there working as well. And he doesn't have automotive, which is...
Plus, part-time is 4 hours less per week.
What about the
Comes out to
mechanics
be
position?
12 minutes a day.
That's not always something to repair.
But 2 weeks ago, we needed 2 full-time positions, and we had enough money to fill two full-time positions. Now it's 2 weeks in, and I understand one fell through, but now we don't have enough money to fill that position, so we're going to second guess ourselves and only go for one part-time position.
I have no problem with the part-time, I just want to confirm if come fall he's looking to get a full-time to come on to have a full complement for winter.
I would expect, I haven't had that conversation with him, but I would expect that at the end of the year, or again, as we get into the end of the year and looking at what the finances are, that if it can be afforded, and I don't know that, I mean, with the projects that are going on, that he might well do that.
I
guess-
thought with the money that was coming over from Parks was going to supplement some of this. No?
That's just to cover the work that's going to be done.
And that's the part-time that he's asking to hire.
But those monies that Parks puts aside for those is not strictly just labor.
And I understand if you want to have the conversation with Kevin, but I guess my feeling is we've hired him to be the DPW director. He knows better than anyone else what he needs. He's had a conversation with Tim. I haven't been involved in those conversations. He couldn't be here tonight. Because of the urgency of this, he wanted me to bring it forward.
Too many onions.
So if you don't feel confident in his recommendation, then delay it, have him come in next week and have a conversation. It's just going to put it off.
The fact of the matter is, if we vote to allow him to hire a part-time person, he can't hire a full-time person unless we vote to allow him to do so.
Well, the part-time person's got to go through a background check and everything, so it's going to delay it anyway, right?
Right, but why delay it another couple of weeks?
I think
Or another week? Because the parks?
I think there's too many.
So I think when the difference is, we're talking 4 hours a week, and also a part-time position is easier to fill with college students and high school students and such that are just looking for a part-time position, and that can keep him going doing that. Perhaps this person can go into full-time at that point, or perhaps there'll be somebody at a different public works department that may decide they want to come over to Tilton.
I'll make
It's a
motion.
terrific place to get full-time employment. So, come on board. We welcome you this fall.
Yeah, at this point, all we're doing is asking you to place an ad in the paper tomorrow.
I'll make a motion to allow the Public Works Director to place an ad in the paper to hire a part-time laborer.
Second?
Discussion? Any more discussion on it?
I have too many unanswered questions to be able to successfully vote on this.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. Let the record show.
Okay, just have I'm not going to go through the FYIs unless you have questions. Just wanted to, I have a couple notes. You all got the email that I sent you about the liquor store coming into Tilton. Somebody asked me the question about whether that property would be taxable. So if anyone had a question in their mind, yes, I confirmed that with the Liquor Commission that it would be taxable. So Tim and I attended a wage and hour workshop this past week, and we're going to be coming back to you with some recommendations on some things that we've learned through that workshop and talk with you about that. But Tim asked that we just delay it a week, so we'll come to you next week and talk about that. The mural project for the Winnipesaukee River Basin siphon, or the concrete block
Structure.
concrete block.
The interceptor.
The interceptor. That's going to happen in the fall. We just got too late of a start to get the students. They're all thinking about getting out of school, so I'm on top of it for when the kids come back in the fall.
Who are you talking with?
We're talking with the Tilton School, we're talking with the middle school and the high school.
Who are you talking to at the high school?
At the high school, my contact has been the superintendent to hear from him who he actually thinks to see what he wants. If there's
Better pick would be Michael Petrin,
and you mentioned that last week, and I had that for FFA.
and we mentioned it to him on Monday at the meeting. So
Okay.
he's looking into it.
Okay. This week I had a webinar on, it was entitled Who Not to Hire, and it actually talked about volunteers as well in that webinar. And we do, I think, really want to have a volunteer form, because according to the webinar and the people that I've talked with NHMA, that protects the town. That's a little different than what we talked about last week, because what I found out after the fact was that the school, because it's a school project, they're covering those youth who want to do that project in Buffalo Park. But from the webinar, in order for us to make sure our volunteers are covered through indemnity if there's any problems, they need to sign a form. I also got actually a volunteer manual that I downloaded, and I'll update that to fit Tilton and have you all look at that along with the service agreement. And Catherine, I don't know if you wanted to talk about those items in the display case, just as a...
Oh, yeah, I had it on my thing. I can bring it up now.
That's
But
all I have.
I have a question before we go into that. The historical market, did we pick a location for it?
You talked about Riverfront Park.
That was for the time capsule. The historical marker.
Yes, I thought that was at Riverfront Park. That's what I had in my notes.
Oh,
Because it was going to be close to the road where people could see it. That's what I had in my notes. But you remember?
I believe so.
Okay.
And then I was gonna lead into it that, have we determined whether or not we own the property that the Europe statue is on, or Timetable Maple?
I have that on my top of my
Okay.
desk.
I was just curious. So what Ginny was referring to, Juliet Harvey emailed me and asked if she could take some of the historical items from the case and display them in one of the Main Street windows. And I let her know that some of those items, and I'm not talking about pictures, don't belong to the town of Tilton, they're on loan. So those wouldn't be available, which doesn't leave a whole lot of artifacts. I mean, I wouldn't mind pictures, but we don't have many artifacts, if you will. I mean, these essentially are protected if somebody gets in there and walks with them. We have cameras. I don't know what would protect them in a storefront window.
Just kind of, do we survey, have a list of those and who they belong to, or?
We don't need to.
Oh, because they're yours?
You should probably also,
Well, it's, it's like I have an item that Bob Hardy gave me, and I haven't put it in there yet, because it's really unusual, and I'm
you need to.
not sure how to label it.
So,
But I was going to talk to the fellow that's forming the Historical Society and see what he suggested.
Cirillo.
Johnson.
Yeah, I think he'd have that knowledge.
My thoughts on, personally, I agree that it would be nice to have them downtown, but sometimes when those things get into just different hands like that, they kind of.
Don't want to lose them.
So, but we should try and come up with some copies.
Like the cigarette
We can-
container.
We can copy the picture, excuse me?
Like the cigarette container at the back. You don't want to lose them.
Oh, man. That was crazy.
I didn't hear about this one. Tell me later.
It was nuts. But we could,
Make
I
some
mean, the pictures, Tim has a disc, because I made the disc, of a lot of our historical pictures. And he could, copy off whatever she wanted for pictures.
Might be nice to do that and print pictures of all the different things and put them in all the windows downtown, what it used to
Yeah.
look like.
And actually, there's some duplicates in these boxes, I've noticed. So, and I don't mind going through them, but I mean, there's a couple of artifacts that do belong to the town, but
What do you think, Peter?
Whatever we can successfully let them
Provide.
have copies of, or copies.
I'm told we have one of the first oil furnaces in town, down cellar.
Still running?
I don't think so.
Eating the building.
It's a cool kind of looking thing. But anyway, that was Julia. Are we into selectmen's reports?
Let's see, it's Jeannie, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I take 2
Um,
seconds from...
Did you have a quick, no?
I just have two quick things. I just wanted to let you know that the Tilton School has asked to reserve the island for Tuesday noontime so they can have a barbecue event for their seniors. They will be bringing me the reservation and the deposit. They're hoping to do it, they've talked with the PD. Did they talk to you about a detail? He said he talked to somebody at the PD about the detail, because they're going to have approximately 95 people, and they'd possibly like to do this on an annual basis. It's the week before graduation, so just so that you're aware, on Tuesday at noon. And then there was a gentleman that came in. I know that we don't usually do itinerant vendors. A young student from Southwestern Advantage would like to go throughout town, and he's with the scholarship of the Southwestern Advantage. Catherine, you can look at this because I know this is, he wants to be selling educational books.
So this is a
Not
door-to-door
Bibles,
guy?
Door-to-door guy. And I told him that we don't usually do that. He went over to the Family Resource Center, talked to them. He's got all the proper, whatever, so you guys decide. I told him I didn't know.
I vote no.
I can't see it in these days and times. It's very
Anyone
difficult,
coming to my house selling me books.
knocking door to door, security problems, strangers.
Well, it's allowed, but
I was gonna say that it's actually allowed here, is it not?
it's allowed. I think the last time we had one was years ago, but we had them go to the PD. Chief, were you
He went to
here?
the PD, yeah.
We had them go to you and you screened in and them.
He's got all
I
the.
think they were all right, weren't they?
Yeah, they came back okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what they were selling.
I think there's like 2 students, and they're trained down in Tennessee, and then they come up here, and they go to the different towns, and they have to sell so many books to get their scholarships and become part of the university.
Sounds weak, but it's allowed?
I'm not very good at explaining, but,
No, I wasn't
Can
saying
you come
your
in?
explanation was weak.
well, if you'd like to have them come in and,
No.
No, I just want them to go through the screening process with the PD.
okay.
Yeah, that would be the next step in this.
And then we should put something on the website. They start knocking on people's doors.
Mhm. Do you give them like a badge or something?
They have
Chief?
that, they have their lanyards and their ID, it's part of the packet.
So, what do you think?
About what specifically?
So I just go ahead and, a consensus, or?
Let him go to the police department and we can decide when he passes his background check. Or not.
Deputy procedure go through that?
I wouldn't buy it personally, that's just me, but some people might be interested. If this person is on the up and up, then we allow it potentially in town.
We don't have an ordinance against it,
There you go.
and the law allows them to do that.
And there you go.
So, technically, if he passes everything, well,
I'm not gonna be the one that the residents call and say, did you allow this to go to my house?
It doesn't matter allowing or not allowing.
If you
Unless
sign
we-
that paper, you are.
Well, I'm not asking for a signature.
If we
Pardon me.
want to make an ordinance prohibiting it, maybe we can. But right now, we don't have one.
That's all I have. Thank you.
so consensus, I'll go around table, I don't, Pat, you know, you feel, Peter?
Well, since it is allowed, I guess if they pass the background check, they're good to go.
Joe?
That's where I'm at.
And Catherine?
I have no reason to deny it.
And that's, I
That's
don't like
three.
the idea of people going around, but I don't see anything that we can actually say no to certain people and yes to another, just as we do with Boy Scouts. We allow them to go to door to collect food or sell Girl Scout cookies. And
Unless these people are on the up and
as
up.
long as it passes all the muster,
So why don't we have a copy of some kind of liability insurance coverage if these people are going door to door? I assume they're not walking,
You're welcome.
so they're only gonna do this area downtown?
No, the town.
They're gonna walk to my house?
Well, I mean, he has a car and registration, but
So why don't we have a copy of liability
you can
insurance?
get it.
Copy of motor vehicle license, that's in here, right?
Got that, yes.
Copy of state hawkers and peddlers. Oh, this is the hawkers and peddlers. Does the state require an itinerant vendor permit? I truly don't know. That's not applicable.
He said it was ever
All
necessary.
right, I would like to see insurance.
On what?
his motor vehicle that he's gonna drive around town.
Is it required under state law?
It's required on this. Copy of liability insurance coverage is attached.
Why? Because I want to drive on town and state roads?
It's required for them because of that.
If I'm gonna allow somebody to drive around selling stuff and driving onto other people's private property, then yeah, I'd like to see he has at least liability coverage on his motor vehicle that's gonna be driving around onto people's
Oh,
property.
that's great, Catherine. I can sign it up today, get it printed off. Tomorrow I can cancel it. You got it on that I had it.
So we're going to have the chief will go through, scrutinize that? The same way we would with anybody else or whoever it may lead? Okay. Anything else? Selectmen's reports?
I have more, but you can go beyond me if you want and come back to me.
I don't remember who went last week. Why did everybody just shut at once?
Finish up, Catherine.
Just finish up.
Go pretend we're watching the Bruins.
Okay, the park commissioners met Monday night, and they wanted me to ask the board of selectmen if they wanted to give the island park responsibility over to the park commissioners, or if you wanted to still handle it by the board of selectmen. So we are responsible for the maintenance and the
When we were together with Northfield.
programs and et
We
cetera, et
don't
cetera.
officially have it yet, though.
We didn't get a deed to it?
That, no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
So the answer is no.
yeah.
Not yet.
No.
Yeah, we don't have it yet. But it's a good
Think
question.
about it.
So I sent everybody around an email. I hope you got it on sump pumps.
Mhm.
Did everybody see it?
No, that one is Peabody Street.
All right, so here. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Coming, Captain. Killed all these trees, you might as well pass them out. There we go.
Look,
Now you have them, all right.
that's all right. So I've been having trouble. I shouldn't say trouble. I haven't been having trouble. I've had reported to me a number of residences in town that are sump pumping either straight water on to their property that's going directly into the street. And I've had a couple that are, it's not just storm water, it's definitely gray water because it's very sudsy. We don't have an ordinance that prohibits that. What we use is this RSA 23639, and I apologize for not copying it for you. But this talks about liability for obstruction or injury to highway. If any person without authority shall place any obstruction in a highway or cause any defect, insufficiency, or want of repair of a highway, which renders it unsuitable for public travel, he or she shall be liable to the state for all damages to the highway, and blah, 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 and then it goes on, or to the municipality for all damages of a highway. You know, I just feel that I'd have a really hard time convincing somebody that by them sump pumping water into the road in the winter when it's not frozen is an obstruction.
We actually do have an ordinance right there.
Oh, because this is what I was
Shall
getting.
not put, throw, cast, place, track, spill, deposit, eject onto, or cause to be put on or placed any snow or ice upon the surface of the traveled portion of any town-maintained road, alley, parking lot, so on and so forth. That doesn't say sump pump specifically.
Right, so this is, and I was thinking, where is this?
This is in the thing that we were looking at tonight. The town traffic and
Oh,
parking.
okay. Yeah, so in the winter,
Under snow removal.
I thought we did one when Dennis Allen
so did
was
I.
here, when Lancaster Hill Road was pouring sump pumping out onto by Auburn Street.
So did
Onto
I.
Auburn.
But I couldn't find it anywhere, and I finally asked Kevin, and this is what he left me. This is what he's been using.
Question. After the Silver Lake Road and sewer project, we had the issues arise on Church and River Road. Was
That's
that
right.
because it's DOT and they have the requirements?
Well, so if you read what I'm suggesting, it says, or onto the Class 2 state aid highways. This is what, they don't really have an ordinance for sump pump water. So for us, for our municipal streets, and I know two right now in particular, that it's beginning to erode the shoulder of the road. And I would think that over time, all that water dumping into that shoulder could also undermine the edge of the road. I'm not a road person, but I just think that. I'm suggesting that we put it in the winter maintenance policy. We could add it to the current one that's in existence, because we haven't accepted the draft, and then it could just be moved over into the draft for acceptance when we do it
Yeah, we could
then.
add sump pump or drain.
So I'm
water from
suggesting
the-
this language. I sent it to Kevin to see if he wanted to change it or alter it, and he said that he thought that covered it all. But if you go into the draft he proposed, I thought I wrote it down. He has a section, road and highway maintenance.
Do we have the draft that he proposed?
The highway maintenance policy draft?
No, the winter maintenance.
I mean, the winter maintenance policy draft?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I just carry mine with me, so.
I think mine was in my old folder.
Well, it was not provided in tonight's materials because, yeah.
So, in this, on page 3, snow plowing removal private property, and he cites some RSAs, and then it says, no person shall put, throw, cast, place, and this is the snow clause, but it doesn't say anything about water.
No, that's right.
So I'm suggesting that we just replace, we put, in the original one, there is no language at
What
all.
page are you on?
3, snow plow removal private property.
So where do you want this inserted, Catherine?
Well, in the original one, we just have to find a place because it doesn't have a section.
When you say original, you're not talking about this draft?
No,
Okay.
I'm just showing where it would make sense in the draft, and that he did add language in the draft for that, but in this one, what is it, 2009 copy?
So would we not want to go off of this draft?
For what?
Well, because we haven't approved the draft, we're not ready to approve the draft, but in order for me to enforce these, I'm really uncomfortable using the
So you wanna put it
RSA.
in this?
So that's why I'm saying, this is in existence.
What's in existence? What you say
This winter
exists?
maintenance policy,
Our existing winter maintenance
our
policy.
existing winter maintenance policy.
But our existing one, does it say no person shall put, throw, cast, place, track, spill,
Nope.
deposit?
Nope.
It doesn't.
No, but we have a section that says
What
snow
does our
removal,
existing
parking
one
ban.
say?
It doesn't,
Doesn't say anything about it at all.
no. Oh, wait a minute.
You couldn't do it in the winter
Yes.
because it would be ice.
Yes, it's under G, I'm sorry. Yes, it's under G.
All right, so what does it say under
No
G?
person shall put, throw, cast, place, track, spill, deposit, eject onto, or cause to be put or placed any snow or ice upon the surface of the travel portion of any town-maintained road, alley, parking lot, highway, public right-of-way, sidewalk, or state-maintained portion of any highway for any purpose. No person shall throw any snow, ice, or debris across aforementioned ways. No person shall pile, allowed to be piled on their property, any snow, ice, or any other debris in such a manner that it will block or impair the view of any driver of any vehicle or driving on any public way within the town of Tilton.
Okay, and so you want to add the snow and sump pump discharge, there would be no, to that paragraph, or paragraph underneath directly underneath that, snow and sump pump
Well-
discharge. There shall be no snow blowing, shoveling, pushing, or dumping snow by anyone onto town streets, highways, including state-owned Class 2 highways that are maintained in the winter by the town of Tilton. There shall be no discharge of sump pumps, cellar drains, or any other water from private property onto town streets and highways, including state-owned Class 2 highways that are maintained in the winter by the town of Tilton.
I would leave it to Jeannie and Kevin to take that proposed language, which like I said, Kevin saw, and then fit it into there where it makes sense. Because you'll notice this doesn't even talk about, because people sump pump water all year long, I do. But some people, this doesn't talk about sump pumping water onto the road, which then turns to ice. This language really refers to people plowing snow into the road.
So what you want right now is something
That prevents people from sump pumping water into the street.
into our main policy right now.
Yeah.
So you want this one into our main policy, and then Jeannie and Kevin can amend it into the draft.
I want, I want them to fit it in here so it makes sense, that language.
Okay, so you don't need it immediately.
I don't need it tonight, no, oh, thank you, no. I mean, next week would be soon enough, because this is gonna be going on all year.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
for clarification, so I don't have the history behind this. This draft here that you have not approved yet, I assume this draft, somebody did some work on that and it came from that one that you were talking about here. So my question to you would be, why would we not just insert this into this one, bring it to you next week and have this approved?
Because it isn't ready to be approved, because he hasn't made any of the changes, we haven't worked on it since February.
We could still incorporate it for
So this
future approval.
isn't,
It's not ready to be
That's
approved
not ready to
yet.
be approved. But this isn't, so this is what's in existence right now. That language could be amended into this next week. But there's a lot of work left to do on
so
this.
then why do we even, why do we have this? Why aren't we just taking this and putting it in here?
Well, that is what I just suggested.
So then this is nothing and we should just toss it.
Wait a minute, hold on.
No.
What
this
the
is-
difference
This,
In other words, so she can enforce it, let's just add this to the original
Yep. Okay,
ordinance.
gotcha. All
And
right.
then we'll also include it in this draft when it's time to work on that.
Okay, all right.
Wait a minute, that's exactly the opposite of what I just asked you.
no. So
Because,
if we put it into the existing approved winter maintenance policy and procedure manual,
yeah,
that's what's in effect now.
yeah,
That's what will be in effect next week,
yeah,
if something magical happens. Then I can go forward and enforce it. In the meantime, Kevin can continue to work on his draft, bringing that forward into his draft.
Bring this piece that we're adding in there.
Right.
Okay, so can I have that? Yeah,
Which one?
the one that you want this to go into, so I'm
Oh my God, these have all my scratches in it.
well,
You're welcome to,
I need to make sure I reference the right.
I think it's on the website right now,
yeah, it is on the website.
but you are welcome to take
I'm
this.
waiting on them.
It's not,
The winter maintenance
it's
policies,
not on here.
you are welcome
What
to
would it be
take
called?
this. Just, I don't have another copy of that one.
Procedure manual.
2012. Yeah, I'll get it back to you.
So question, isn't there
I wrote that.
state law or rules pertaining to property owners dumping water on adjacent properties and it not being legal?
Yes.
We have that in our zoning ordinance. But this,
So-
but this is for
But-
butters. And the
Well,
language is in there, is in,
Wouldn't it cover sump pumps? Washing fire equipment on a town way?
it
Because when they
wouldn't
wash them here,
cover,
they are on the town way?
it wouldn't necessarily cover, and it's vague, the language, it wouldn't necessarily cover somebody sump pumping water across their lawn and then into the road.
Why not? You're discharging onto a town road.
Okay, here.
You've got to
They're
prevent it.
discharging onto a public way.
Right.
not private property.
What's the difference?
Because one is owned by a
That-
private person and this one is open to the public.
Well, except for when the state does the projects, I can't dump my water onto the state. They're not supposed to dump their water onto me. You're supposed to keep your, right?
But
Doesn't-
that's,
That water comes on my property all the time.
Well, then get at them to fix their drainage, whatever.
Yeah. I brought it up.
So
This
that's
is,
another related document.
I got this
that
from
Has to
Newcastle.
do with that, would be that zoning ordinance.
There's 5 different conversations going on at the same time.
Some pumps or any of that.
You,
no, it doesn't.
you, Peter?
There's a conversation going on over there in the corner, there's a
No, we're just-
conversation going down there, and there's a
We're
conversation
not
over here.
talking.
The winter maintenance policy.
Nobody
is
knows what the
online.
other one's saying.
Does anybody have anything that they wish to say?
Motion to adjourn.
No, not quite. Joe?
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Okay. Allison Stewart, Hartwell Stewart, I'm sorry, I get those switched around, and her husband Titus have graciously offered to provide a band at no expense to the Old Home Day Committee. Now, ordinarily, that would have nothing to do with Tilton, except for we proposed to put it in Riverfront Park prior to the fireworks on Old Home Day. In the past, we've had bands there that, I don't know who set them up, see, and I'm just looking for a little information.
Park Commission.
We should go to the Park Commission to get permission to have the band?
Huh? But
Okay.
it's nice to FYI the.
Yeah, well, then I will, let me know when your next meeting is so I can formally present it. I need to let Allison know so that we can make sure we contract with this band.
Second Monday, Peter?
Correct.
Second Monday. Okay, I'll just.
We're having one next week, but it's very specific for one specific topic, but you could get in touch with Bob Hardy to see if there's a possibility of fitting you in next week.
Second Monday, I'm gonna call Bob Hardy because I'd like to get this underway so that we don't miss out on this opportunity, if it's okay with the Parks Commission. The only other thing that I have is that on Tuesday, I was supposed to be the ex officio at the planning board meeting, and I took Benadryl and aspirin and fell asleep. And I was a no-call, no-show at the planning board. I apologize to the planning board. I apologize to the Board of Selectmen and to the residents because I was supposed to be there. If I couldn't be, I would have contacted the backup, which is Selectman Scanlon. But I was asleep. I intended to be there. So all I've got is a sad story and my apologies. And I will endeavor to never allow that to happen again. That's all I've got.
Anything else? No, Peter?
Yep. Sunday, May 19th, 9 to noon, Tilton Northfield Rotary Club's annual fishing derby. Sign-ups start at 8, free to kids through age 15. Next, June 22nd is the 150th celebration, street fair celebration. Getting a little redundant. June 30th is the time capsule ceremony. July 27th is a tube regatta. And we post this in the kiosk.
Oh, I love that poster.
You know who did that poster?
Who did that?
Sheena did that.
Did you
Oh
see
yeah,
that?
there's a poster-sized one of those. It's great.
Oh, put
You know,
that in the kiosk. We'll take it all.
I think we should sell some for raising money, that this would be a really
We talked about that.
good thing. Okay. So that's the kiosk.
That's it,
great.
John.
Oh yeah, you should see the big one.
Do you have anything?
I do. There is a bill in here that I have a question about. I thought the John Radigan was coming to the planning board on the training, and it was offered to us for free. Well, he has a couple of things in here. It says planning board training, work on preparation of planning board training session, 2.6 hours. Well, that says no charge, but it says planning board emails with Juliet Arby, RE planning board training, and that's a half hour for $55.
Yeah.
Can we call him and say, I thought this was free?
I absolutely can call him on that. I'm guessing what he's going to say is he offered to do the training and then was.
Barraged with questions.
Yeah. That was now part of what he had offered. He said he would come to the work, the planning board meeting and offer the workshop for free. And then,
So we got a lot of questions ahead of time?
No.
well,
I get a yes and I get a no.
There must have been some conversations that went
There
on.
were questions, but some of them were for the training.
I can call him and
It's
ask.
very difficult. It's extremely difficult to sit at this end of the table and hear what's going on down there. I can see that you're talking down there. I can't hear a thing that you're saying, and it's very distracting. And I can hear that you just said something to Catherine. I can't hear a thing that you're saying. It's extremely frustrating.
Because what I have to say.
I know, I got that, but that's fine, but John Scanlon sat here for 2 years and he kept saying it was a black hole. Well, it is, because you can't hear what you're saying down there.
We'll really we need to pay attention to the microphones a little more. And we'll take some pauses in between when we say things so other people can hear them.
Can't always talk it all at once. The Board of Directors on the Law Enforcement Against Drugs on the Street and in the Classroom, the LEAD program, is honoring Chief Cormier of Tilton Police on Saturday, June 1st at 6:30 in the evening at the Common Man in Plymouth. It's a reception, dinner, and auction. So I don't know if the board, it's sponsored by the Napoli family who owns McDonald's in AutoServe. So I don't know if you folks want to attend or not.
What night of the week is it?
It's on Saturday, June 1st. It doesn't say how much it is.
It's $150. It's $150 per person.
Per person?
$150?
$150
And does all the
per
money,
person.
all the money go to Leeds or no?
It does, yeah.
So do we want to go or do we not want to go? That is the question. Or do we just want to send Jeannie? Jeannie and I can go, no. We should send Jeannie and her husband.
You'd have better luck, you and me going, than me and my husband. Did you hear that? He's not somebody you'd see out in public very often. Right, Joe?
I've seen him. I can't believe this.
I've seen him once or twice.
Look at this.
All right, where's the board think?
But in any event, I'm happy to go if you'd like me to go.
Spell it.
What do you think?
What do you think, board?
I wonder if all of them are like this. No.
Did you hear what Pat said?
Yeah, whoever wants to go, I would say they should go. Me personally, I'm not going to be there, but
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be here.
None of us really know.
Well,
Why don't we authorize,
God, it doesn't say
if
who.
it works out, how's that?
Sure.
And then,
I don't know if I can go or not. June 1st.
so why don't people look their schedules, and if they can fit in appropriately, we're good for it?
The town will go. Peter, you wanna go?
Probably not. I think 150 is outrageous.
All right, Jeannie. Okay, the other thing is, the police building study committee met the other night, and we met with Gary Goodrow. And we're gonna schedule tours of other police departments that he does, some of which he designed, others that he hasn't, but the committee will go out and tour, I think there's 5 of them, 5 different ones that we're gonna go see. Also, Gary is coming next week to this Board of Selectmen's meeting. We need to make a decision on construction manager versus project manager.
Or clerk of the works.
Or clerk of the works. And it needs to be made before we start going forward and going in a different direction on how we proceed as far as the committee and the layout and so on, and how we get our numbers, because it all factors in on what the numbers are. And Jeannie can kind of explain it a little bit better, because we talked an awful lot. My memory it's not very good right now tonight. Go ahead, Jeannie.
So essentially, Gary's just going to come and speak with you about the different options that the selectmen could choose going forward on getting this project to where it needs to be, so that we have a number that we can put into the warrant.
That sounds good, put them on for that.
Okay.
So we could be here next week?
Yes.
Okay. Next week. The other
Any
thing,
homework to go with it?
Anything else, Pat?
yep,
I'm going to take a look and see if I can find some information and get it to you. Yeah, Catherine asked if there was any homework to go along with in preparation for the meeting with Gary, and I told her that I'd actually did a little looking this afternoon about definitions of the different options, and I'll check in with Gary, and if he's got some information, I'll get it to you
yep.
before
He said
that.
he'd send us some too,
Yep.
ahead of time. He also has a temporary layout of a building on the land as we own it, like a,
Still with the ball field?
Yes.
yes. Yep, the ball field sits in a different way, but it does, yes. In the cut-ins, the 2 driveways, so
And
he'll bring that with us.
And
You
he-
know, you've got it in your office, right?
I do, yes, I do.
Okay.
And he also mentioned that the topography, the
Yes.
topo that he wants to do, so that'll be happening soon. But everything's moving right on schedule.
So we're hoping to have some numbers by mid-December.
Actually, in talking with Tim, he'd like it sooner than that, so.
Of course he will.
Well, we need them for town meeting, not for...
Well, we need them for we need them for 2
The
public
warrant.
hearings and for the warrant.
It's going to be a warrant article, right?
Right,
So
yep,
it's not in the budget.
and a bond.
I know.
Right, a bonded warrant article, right. Okay, and don't forget, folks, I want to mention again and again and again that the Community Action Program has partnered with Tilton Senior Center Executive Committee and for training for the volunteer driver program, and the first training is going to be on June 3rd at 5:30 at the Tilton Senior Center. And the second training, it's probably about 2 hours long, and they're going to tell you all about the training and what it would be and what it would take to be a volunteer driver program. volunteer driver for the program. And the other training is going to be at 11:30 on June 7th. And we desperately need drivers in the Tilton area.
Is this,
55
Tilton
cents.
doesn't have a volunteer driving program, right?
No, we partnered with, we used to do that and chat, but we partnered with CAP because they
Okay.
get federal monies
So
out
it's
of.
CAP's driving program.
It's CAP's driver's
We're
program.
providing- Okay.
It's,
I was
it's
confused.
not CAP's driving program. CAP is the people that run the grant. There's a grant,
There's a couple of grants that 5310
because I was on the
and
committee that set up the driving program.
Right, the 5310, and there's a couple of them that comes out of the American Elders Act and the 5310 monies that, depending on if it's the elder or disability, so on. There's a couple of pockets that the monies come out of, but they're
So
trying to.
CAP is the distributor of
So
that.
it's CAP's program.
Yes, CAP runs it, yes,
Well, I hear CAP's money, but who manages the program?
CAP.
CAP manages the program. The
Yes.
rules were set up by
So if a
somebody else.
resident wanted to go to the doctors, they would call the CAP number, and CAP would find a driver
Okay.
and call. It's actually software that, so if Joe was a volunteer driver, he would look into the software, and then the software would be out for a whole week, and then would say, on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, so-and-so needs a ride, and he can tap into that software and say, I can take that driver, and just type in his name and say, I'll take it, and then he'll call back, get the information and call back the driver and the resident and say, I can take you.
Are they doing it now?
Yes, they do that now.
Okay.
But
Last
they're,
few years.
That's
they're,
interesting, because I had somebody in my office 2 weeks ago looking for a ride, and I was like, and I had that CAP book sitting there, and I said, well, CAP does so much, I think you should call them, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope they can help them.
Oh,
they
yeah,
desperately need drivers
That's
in the
good.
area. Well, what's
That's good.
happening now is
Thank you.
that they have people they don't have enough people in the Tilton area, so they call people in Laconia, Belmont, Canterbury, or whatever, to try to come up here to drive for us, and it's not working out that well, so they have to deny the people rides, and then last minute they call us, and we can't fill them, because it's last minute like the day before, and our drivers have plans, so we desperately need them now, so, all right, I'm done.
Anything else?
I have a couple of things. First of all, my name is misspelled in the payroll. Joeseph is not my name. So, therefore, I won't sign it because I'm not that guy. You have the proper signatures, you're all set. You gonna sign this, Pat? You missed this one. Secondly, we had a non-public and the minutes weren't sealed, so I'm assuming that those minutes are going to be posted along with the regular meeting.
That'd be a correct assumption.
Okay, and you say you have one more thing, Pat?
I do. Where's that green, where's the signature things?
They didn't seal them,
Orange.
so they're public.
Did you use my phone, Joe, for that last week?
I don't know, I have this bunch of papers, but I don't know if that's
You
it.
don't have to seal
Oh,
them.
to be signed, yeah, I do have it right
That
here.
bunch of papers that you have right there.
Until the batter's
And
resolved,
this goes with that? Okay.
so there's a time frame.
Good.
There's one in
I
here
don't think there is one.
that's a veterans exempt,
Topic we discussed in the public,
that
there's.
And
no
was
time frame,
denied?
So let's say we talked
That's because it was less than
about the
hour.
architectural thing. Please.
person's deceased.
We don't have to
Oh, that's
seal
good to know.
it.
But, are we sure that that's not,
Maybe I'm really
the
way off.
intent was not an elderly exempt
Look now.
Tag it and we'll look into
for
it.
her?
Tag it and we'll look into it.
Okay.
Anything else?
I have this last thing, motion
Go
to
ahead.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Oh, yeah.
Aye. Opposed?
I have to do it.
And we're clear.